One thing I didn't ask you when we met last week was what's your call sign? Are you allowed to say that or not?
So like my tactical, like Maverick Goose kind of thing. So it's Slush.
Slush. Not
quite as cool as Iceman.
Okay.
That's how it was delivered.
What's the story behind Slush?
Oh man, you asked if there's things we can't talk about. So the storytelling of a call sign usually involves a fighter pilot's bar.
Yeah.
And some brew. I will tell you the short version of it, I guess, which is fine. As a young enlisted guy, I had some pretty cool cars. I had a Corvette that I had restored, and I had Aviator as a custom license plate, and I was pretty proud of myself. I was the fourth generation pilot at that point. My great-grandfather flew the Curtiss Jenny at the end of World War I. My grandfather flew the B-52 and the KC-135 in Vietnam. My dad was a KC-135 navigator. My uncle was a KC-135 and an AWACS pilot. And I was a brand new private pilot civilian. And I thought Aviator would be cool on the license plate. So that kind of sets
context,
it.
Yeah.
I end up going to pilot training, and this is going to get me in trouble. And I go to pilot training, and a buddy of mine took a picture of me much younger than I am now, a little skinnier, a lot more hair, on the wing of a T6, and submitted that along with another picture of me with Gavin in the cockpit of an A-10 up in Boise, and submitted those to a radio station in Boise, Idaho for the Hottest Daddy contest. True story. I didn't know that she did that.
Love that.
Yep. So I get a call from a lieutenant colonel, which there's a possibility that he will hear the story, so I'll probably leave his name out of it, but he went by Donut. He calls me up and he's like, "What the absolute heck are you doing down there in pilot training?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Dude, you're all over the news, and Hottest Daddy, you need to be focusing on pilot training. What the heck are you doing?" I'm like, "Sir, I am so sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about."
Yeah.
So I get off the phone with him, and then immediately call her and said, "What have you done?" I ended up winning and got a $2,000 shopping spree certificate at the local mall. So I just gave that to her, and that was, I believe, the last conversation that her and I had together. Anyways, do well in pilot training, do well in all of the other military parts of the flying. They sent us to a program called IFF. It's Introduction to Fighter Fundamentals, where it's our first introduction to being a fighter pilot. Having to fly while flying, obviously forward, but you're looking backwards for bandits on you and stuff, and that stuff you've seen in the movies.
Yeah.
And then from there on to ultimately to fly the A-10 at Davis-Monthan. For the school down there, and then do well, right? I get back to Boise, where I become an operational fighter pilot there, and during that training, I do fairly well in that. And one of the things that I'm able to do, for whatever reason, I can see the air-to-air picture pretty good. I remember going out with a guy named Kingman. Very famous fighter pilot back in the day. He actually has a couple of rides with Chuck Yeager in the F-4. If you're familiar with Chuck Yeager or not, he's the most probably famous pilot of all time. Mm-hmm. But anyways, we went out 2v2, so 2 F-16s out of Montana against 2 A-10s, and long story short, we beat them up pretty bad. And any F-16 pilot would argue that the A-10 should not be doing that to the F-16. So we cleaned them up pretty good, and through that there came a kind of a sense that I was fairly good at the air-to-air picture. Not saying that I'm God's gift to anything, but I was good at the air-to-air picture. So that brings in Top Gun. Everyone has seen Top Gun. Sure. Iceman, right? He's ice cold, doesn't make mistakes. Well, I obviously made mistakes, so not quite Iceman. Therefore, Slush is the name they gave me.
Nice.
That's the short.
That's the short version.
That's the short of it.
I'm sure there's a lot more context that you can talk about off the podcast.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was a great experience flying A10s up there in Boise with those guys.
Yeah.
You bet.